as you said, a day 3 Worlds player. That's nothing to sniff at. So you've got to know that he's got it in him to keep going. And I think, is this something that you've seen overseas, Makes? Because I think this is something we've seen here where
I'm overseas.
it's true. You are literally over the seas from me. But we've seen people who will just scrape through in day 1 and day 2, and then they'll come out and have like a kicker, a real killer day on day 3. So it's like it doesn't matter how you go in those first 2 days as long as you make it to day 3.
Yeah, for sure. And to me, that's always players adapting a little bit to the tournament and the other players that are in that tournament. If they have that kind of rundown where on day 1 and day 2 they just kind of bump through on their last leg, and then day 3 they just out of nowhere start stomping. And we've actually seen this in EMEA a couple of times since we have the qualifier right before the cup. And then sometimes in the qualifier there's players who come through the wait list. They barely make it to day 1, day 2, then on day 3 move on to the cup and get to day 3 in the cup. And it's so mind-blowing to me how that works. It's just crazy. But we are into the game, and I can already see a little bit of an astral trend for Hunk here if he so wants it.
Yep, has already managed to start that. Surely he puts in the Nidalee here. Actually, no, wait. You don't even get a PvP orbs on. You don't get the orbs on. Do you? You don't, right?
I would think not, just looking at this, but I thought...
I feel like that was something you got earlier on, and then they patched it out at some point.
Yeah, it's probably an earlier iteration, but you don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you could have that. Let's have a look at the options they've got here. Not bad, not bad. We've just seen how powerful Kaiser can be, and having that extra Dragonmancer option, but no. Okay. The huge hinge Hunk has actually gone for the extra attack damage option.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a little bit of a safer play, but it's also something that you usually want to have very early on to then actually get those stacks up. I'm not sure what comp that might be, unless it's Astrals, because he already has them. I'm gonna hop on over here. There's a Varus with a Rage Blade already, and here we have the Astral online with the Better Together as well.
Yeah, yeah, look, combat training, as you say, yeah, where does that go? It's not like you're going to get your Xayah out straight away, even though, maybe she can stack up 10 damage around by the end of it. But we've got Better Together here. And he's going to start off with a Locket just to get that going. Playing everyone at the back line there just to give a little bit of time for Varus to start getting those Gwinsu's Rage Blade stacks up. And yeah, Knife's Edge for Yush.
Yeah, and just noting back on Hunk, we did see a Twitch being picked up, if I'm not wrong. And together with the combat training, that might open up something that, to me, is set 6, which is the Rat King reroll. But we have seen this before, and Chaos is also letting us know that Hunk has played it before. So that would be definitely very fun. And something else that's very fun, especially for you, chat, is our egg giveaway. So !egg in the chat. And remember, if you spam some eggy emotes, you also get better chances or something like that.
Yep, definitely not a bait. Is Twitch reroll a bait? That's another good question, I'd say. I remember
Twitch reroll is actually so good.
I have heard some top players. I remember them talking about, if you start off with a Death Blade, especially, that can be really good for Twitch reroll. We've got Hallucinate coming out, actually, an augment we were talking a little bit about earlier tonight, and starting off with the Zeeks onto the Yone there, which is, that's something you kind of want Yone to have end game if you're going to go for that. And, if you're starting with Hallucinate, how committed are you to Mirage overall, remembering that I think it was the Duelist Dexterity, right, that we've got going for this game?
Yeah, it's duelist. So hallucinate, just to remind everyone, it means that Mirage champions take 90% less damage for the first 5 seconds of combat. So gives you a little bit of extra tankiness, but usually it's only picked if you're really going to go into Mirage. And the comp that we have seen a bunch of, not necessarily with something like Pirates, but Mirage Guild is actually really good. So if you go into Zippy, if you go into Deja, and just build out a Mirage Guild board from there, that is actually pretty strong, and we haven't seen as much from that so far.
Yeah, because you kind of just have to think about where your front line is going to come from, right? Obviously, you know, you're most likely going to be stacking up that Deja to try and get you the damage in later game. But yeah, if you've got Hallucinate and you compare it with something like a Mirage Emblem, and then you can chuck that on, say, like an Itis or a Zippy if you're going Guild, you know, whatever it might be, it does give you some options to really make the most out of that augment.
Yeah, but I also want to see what else is going on here. So we're going to hop into that carousel here. Here's a Varus with a bow. Might be interesting for the players who are aiming to go for that swift shot. Having the swift shot Varus with a bow already online is very, very good, but doesn't look like it's being picked up early on.
Yep, a lot of options here for these players early on as they still, you know, just try and find that direction going into Game 5. And I guess something else, you know, we should note going into this game here, Makes, is that at Game 5, especially for these players in the lower lobby, it does change how they need to play it from here on, right? Like we were talking about, you know, tempo,
yes.
you know, not having to play first and eighth because the top 16 get through. But for these players, their tournament lives are about to be on the line, and they may have to go for those high rolls if they want to get to the top of this lobby, potentially twice in a row, to have enough points to push through.
Absolutely. So it will also be a little bit dependent on what's going on in Lobby 2, like you just said. But for these players in Lobby 3, obviously having a little bit less point than Lobby 2, you're going to need to try extra hard. And I'm just so ready to see this 1 or 8 kind of gameplay. I love seeing that. I love when the stakes are rising and players are just, you know, looking out for those really fast level 9s, for really crazy and creative approaches to the meta. And hopefully we're going to see some of that in the next 2 games. For now, going to be seeing Mina and Deb, and that's a pretty scary Vladimir.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot stacked on him. Of course, Deb picking up Salvage Bin, which allows him to just slam whatever the hell he so pleases, because he can always remake that later. And I feel like Salvage Bin has been picked up by a couple of these players, just because we're seeing these very late game transitions, right? You know, I think last game we saw, you know, someone take that Swift Shot emblem, they turned it into a Cav emblem in the end, so there's lots of cool cases like that. But also just, you know, when you want to play best board, whatever that may be, and then eventually transition that into a dragon board, that's where Salvage Bin, it helps you do both of those things.
Speaking of dragons, right now we are, of course, here on the board of Deb. Deb does have the 3 Astral, 3 Mage, and he could go for a very strong Mage comp because, here it comes, Nomsy is Mage this game. And whenever Nomsy is Mage, there's this kind of preposition where that's very strong and you want to go for it, but if several people go for it, then it's suddenly not very strong because you're going to be cannibalizing each other. So you need to make sure you figure out what everybody else is on. And then if you see the Nomsy and you're able to hit it early, then that's a really, really nice comp to unpack here.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe he doesn't even need to remake those items. I mean, obviously, that's not how Savage Bin works. He literally would have to remake those items. But, you know, he can make the same ones again if he was going Mage Nomsy, because obviously that is kind of some best-in-slot kind of jank there. Meanwhile, we've got 5 Shiver Scale online already for our boy Ron here. He's trying to stack up.
Yeah?
Oh, he's actually kind of missed there because, you know, you would want your Jacks to go down and die, but he's placed it kind of looks like he placed the jacks on the right-hand side of the stage when I think typically in that situation, surely you'd be placing on the left to go up against the two Krogs and get taken out.
Yeah, so that didn't really work out here. Notably, it's 5 Shimmer Scale with another Idas in the shop.
That's nuts. I mean, picking up a
Are
second
you going to be
Idas.
tempted by this?
I'm tempted.
Are you going to pick it up? Is this your way into the dragons? Or is this just bait? TFT is currently deliberating, trying to figure out what to do with this. He is not on any Shimmer Scale emblems or augments. It's just the 5 Shimmer Scale that he currently has on the board. But with that Idas, possibly Idas 2 being hit this early, he could get really, really nicely into the mid game and then later on find some dragons maybe. So definitely has to be a consideration here.
Well, yeah, and he's at 3-1 as well, right? Which means, you know, keeping these traits in, it does give you the chance to pick up that extra Shimmer Scale.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You know, emblem at the next go. He picks it up because he wins the round. It seemed like he was kind of thinking about, you know, maybe if I lose, I won't get it because then I won't even have 10. We've had some reports that Escher actually went 9 Shimmer Scale in one of the games off stream last time. So, unfortunately, no. Actually, is Shimmer Scale heart? That's a silver augment, right?
You're asking me that, and of course I know that, but
yeah. Shimmer Scale Crest
I think so. Yeah,
is in silver. Yeah, so he possibly could have got that for the reroll. The thing I always feel bad. Oh, there's a volley bear as well. The thing I always feel bad about personally is like when you take a pair like this, it's like it was unlikely to get the first one. It was really unlikely to get the second one, but it's so unlikely to get the third one that like
the third one is here. I found it. Sol picked it up. So third Idas in this lobby currently on the board of Sol, who went with that blue battery for now in the silver augments. Possibly going into Zone, but doesn't have Lagoon online. So I'm curious what he's planning to do with that Rabadons.
Yeah. That is interesting. Just providing a bit of damage at the moment, and you can see they're actually waiting as long as possible to put that Determined Investor on so that he could slam it on someone who for sure was going down and guarantee that will continue ticking up. But yeah, look, the Rabadon's certainly doing enough that he's going to take out the victory here in 3-2. Reuniclus sitting at the top at the moment on a win streak with 96 health.
Yeah, 96 at the very top, and at the very bottom we're on 68. So a little bit of a steep fall looking at the overall lobby HP, but nothing to be too worried about. Notably, we can see right now that Mina is on the Tiny Titans, so would have even less HP if it weren't for that augment.
Yeah, that's awkward. So what, 58? Mina would be sitting at no wonder. They've taken that extra health, and they can see how far behind the rest of the lobby they are. That said, they found the SOM early, right? And we were talking about how you really need to... it can make a big difference whether you find that SOM early on or if you hit it later. It can cause you to bleed a lot, but we've got it here. So how long can the Zac tank out for, though? Not long enough. Not long enough for those Morello ticks to really make that much of a difference here. And Mina continues to plunge further down the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's not what you were looking for. Does have a lot of gold to work with, notably. But I'm thinking, what do you do here? Do you just try to aggressively level and put in a stronger comp, or are you looking for that upgrade? And I think you want to level just to kind of get a little bit ahead of the other players here. But we're going to see what Mina does once we come out of this carousel. Jace with a cloak. Nice pickup for Yush. We're going to see a Graves with crit being picked up by Hunk. And then the last of the last coming through here. I hate being last in the carousel. It's, you go into the carousel and you look at the options of like what you want, and maybe it's 2 items, maybe it's 4, and you're like this, or this. And if you're last pick, always your items are going to be gone.
Yeah, you mean belt every single time? certainly how it
Siphon
feels for me.
being in the shop here for Mega Kangaroos, but not going to be the
there we
choice.
go.
Goes with Deja instead, and has the Guild Mirage online that we were talking about really early when these Hallucinate augment
Yep.
was picked up from Mega Kangaroos here. So hopefully this is a turning point for them to get some wins in.
Yeah, totally committing themselves from the start there with that Hallucinate. You know, this, yeah, exactly. This was one of the options we were theory crafting about that Guild Deja comp. Still got one more augment to potentially, hopefully, get that Guild emblem online. Interesting to see if they swap the positioning of this Leona. I'm wondering, you know, considering they've got A, the Gargoyle Stone Plate on it, and B, Hallucinate as well, you would have thought they'd be centering that. Maybe they just didn't get time last round. Maybe there's some big brain play here that I'm just not understanding. But I do find it interesting that they've got the Sejuani in the middle there.
I mean, it's, I think, just tankiness, because the Deja and the Zippy are both like so low in HP due to them being 1-star. So you want to have the Sejuani in the front and being like a little bit of a flesh shield, I guess, between them and the carry units to kind of give them a little bit more space. But as of right now, it's definitely not enough. We're gonna hop on over to, this name gives me trouble, Reuniclus and TXE. We're currently fighting it off. TXE is on those shimmer scales. 3 items on that Azrael 2 now, and he's just dishing out damage left and right.
Yeah, the Draven's axe on the back there, popping up. He's ticking up in several ways with the Gwinsus and the Archangels. Ezreal 2 is honestly like such an underrated unit. Once you get it up to 2-star, I mean, he's so good at carrying like a variety of items, and at 2-star can honestly carry you, I genuinely feel like, well into stage 4, where you can finally pop those off and get someone else. But wow, Jace Yasuo in the shop here. I mean, looking at this board, you know, are they hoping to go towards like Xayah? Is that the kind of angle we're trying to get at here? Or does he need to just make a pivot here and try and do something else?
That was really, really crazy. Just absolutely finding a beautiful store here on 3-7. Does get a little bit of extra board strength out of that, even though he did not need it. Is currently leading the lobby. And there's another Jace. Okay. Just okay. Lovely. What else are you looking for? More dark shines upon you, Reuniclus.
Looks like he's given up on the Shimmer Scale as well. You saw he didn't even use the Determined Investor in that last PvE round. Unfortunately, didn't get it all the way. Couldn't get the Diamond Hands out of it. It's a big payoff if you get there, but it can be tough to find in the end. So after that pivot, we're going to get the Warmogs over there onto Zippy, which will help a bit. And yeah, look, Gwinsus.
There's a Rage Blade Slam. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not like the best item on Deja, depending on, you know, what your Mirage, you know, variations are, but it's okay.
It's okay. With the duelist, won't do enough for Reuniclus here now, but like we said before, a lot of gold to work with, a lot of HP to work with, so we needn't worry. My question is, will the next prismatic augment will be prismatic, or will it be silver? Of course, another disappointment. I just love prismatics. I think they're so fun, not as a player, but as a viewer, okay?
Yeah.
You can hate me for that, but as somebody that enjoys viewing TFT, the kind of trajectory that a prismatic augment puts a lobby into is so fun. We haven't had any yet, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, not on broadcast, unfortunately. I'm sure one of the other lobbies,
yeah, for sure,
you know, came across them at some point, but not us here. Actually, I think I can remember that happening on
Reuniclus is just
set
hitting.
7, the set 6 final broadcast as well. Maybe it's a little bit of a cast curse. Either way, I'm liking you know, Sol. He's been constantly just pivoting the boards on and off. If you guys are a little bit newer to TFT, you don't know that, you can just take your unit onto the bench and then back onto the board, and it will pop that Shimmer Scale item off, and then you can just replace it wherever you want. It's not like the other normal items that kind of get stuck to your units, get soulbound a little bit. So he will do that every single time, and then just you know, choose that unit that's going to die, so he can make sure that he can get to that diamond hands a little bit quicker.
A little bit of playing God here, deciding who's going to die. But yeah, we just saw 2 players, or I think even 3 players that now have a Deja on board. So that's definitely going to be something to keep in mind. Whoever can hit that Deja 2 first will be a little bit ahead of the rest of the players here. And I'm starting to get worried because there's 2 players far off from the rest of the competition. For now, they're under 40 HP. Mina and Mega Kangaroos both have the 30-something. Mina even slight on 30, could drop below now. We're still so far away from that treasure dragon, which is never a good thing to be in.
Yeah, are we going to see it again? That's the real big question, right? Are we going to see someone who doesn't make it all the way there again? So we got that answer to the question we asked right at the start of the broadcast, which is combat training. What's it going to end up doing? Is actually gone for the Graves Seraphine board. We haven't seen too much of this tonight, right? Like it did cop a heavy nerf. It was very strong in the last, I think it was the last full patch we saw before they hit a couple of components. I think they hit both Seraphine, maybe Zyra as well in that patch. But you can see they've got some very good items for it. 2 Thieves Gloves, one of them coming from the Augment, and then also 2 of the best in slot items for Seraphine there as well. And Graves can really be a terror. So if you get that combat training, you know, really pumping up on him, that I can see that becoming a very strong board.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think, like you said, it has been nerfed, so on its own, probably not the best idea to go into the Cannoneer Lagoon. But with that combat training, I can see it work, and you might even see him, if he has the gold, later on opt for that Graves 3, which is something in the past we've seen players do in tournaments. So that would be very, very interesting. Now, we've just gotten word that the bottom 3 players in this lobby are currently all on very little gold, but I just saw Mina hit a Soam 2, and Yush hit, I believe, level 8. So Soul finding Soraka 2 as well. Players are just hitting upgrades from left and right, 4 or 5 at the moment. Yush also finding that Siphon too. So Mina and Yush probably getting a little bit of an upward trajectory from here on out, where they can find some wins now that their boards have been upgraded. And we will see, as Deb meets with Mina, the Soam 2 in the backline, blue buff Morellos. Lovely, love to see that. And of course, Deb is on the Mage Nomsy.
Yeah, 2-star Mage Nomsy versus 2-star Soam here. 2 items only for the Soam though, so it's not going to be quite enough. Astral, just a little splash of that there helps you get... the fact that you've only got 3 Astral units actually kind of helps focus you in terms of what you get out of the orbs when you're playing Mage Nomsy, because it does mean you get a lot more of the Vladimirs, the Skarners, and the Luxes, and it helps you 3-star those units.
I'm really worried for Mega Kangaroos. Now down to 14 HP. I think you might even get knocked out here, depending on how big the loss is. Not even see the dragon. So Deja 2 just coming in. It is the Mirage Guild board that we talked so much about. Would love to see that Jace being upgraded to 2, but with other players also going for the Deja, that Jace is pretty fought for. So we're gonna see how well it can do. Depends on who we're meeting up with against, but it seems like it's going to be the bottom of the lobby. Mega Kangaroos is just fighting for their lives here as they meet up with Yush, who's on that Jade Siphon board.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how to, you know, get a Mirage Emblem and make your front line, you know, possibly work for you when you first picked Hallucinate as an Augment. At the moment, none of his front line has Mirage, so it's only the Deja, and by the time, you know, Reuniclus has got to the Deja, that's well ward off, and he's down to 3 health now, so, oh man, this has not been a fantastic game for Mega Kangaroos, or Mina, who's down to 8, down to 1 life. Sure, they get this last chance seeing our Treasure Dragon. I kind of feel like the Treasure Dragons so far are going the way of the prismatic augments, in that we haven't got as many of the fun ones. Actually, the other casters did get one of the, what was it, the Chaos Treasure Dragon. But yeah, I think this is kind of like what we were talking about earlier, right, Makes, where these guys have basically had to go for the big high roll, and they've just completely missed, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, I think that's what it is. So we're gonna see Mina and Mega Kangaroos trying to make the most out of where they are, fighting to at least get 7th, but hopefully higher. So TXE is currently what we're looking at, and yeah, I am looking. Seeing a lot of scary things on this board here. Keep in mind, this is 4-7. TXE has hit the double Idas pair on, like, I don't know, felt like 2-1. And now there's also a Yasuo, there's a Xiaoyu on the board, and a Pantheon 2 on this board. That's a very, very strong board for 5-1.
And he's got items, he's got champ duplicators just chilling on the bench because he's like, I don't need it. I'm good for the moment. I'll wait and see what happens. Yeah, TXE is being chillin', I think you'd have to say, at this stage. He's still got that Ezreal sitting in the back. Like, is he actually going to keep that? Or, like, surely he's transitioning that. I'm just looking at all the traits he's got activated on the left-hand side there, right? And being like, I don't know, maybe he just likes maybe he likes how nice it looks to have, like, what's that, 7 different traits active at once.
To be honest, I love having a lot of trades active, but I don't think it's a play in this tournament here. And you can just see how much that Idas tanks. It's not going to be enough for TXE, who finds a loss here. And Mina has also been knocked out 8th. Mega Kangaroo's now down to 3 HP. And Hunk, who has found a Bard and a Pantheon with a little bit of extra gold investment, could possibly stabilize here, but it's not looking too great for them either.
Ooh,
here we are.
That was interesting. You know, what we just saw TXE hit there as well. You know, got the Ao Shin and the Terra, so potentially the start of a transition over to a Dragon's board. Maybe that's where the Ezreal items go in the end. Meanwhile, over here is that... no, that's not the Seraphine 3, right? That's only the 6th one. So still a little while to go there, but, you know, we've got that Graves 2. You can see him dashing in and starting to do some big damage. Not great items for the Graves though, right? Like no Bloodthirster, doesn't have IE, no what's the stacking one?
Do you mean Rage Blade?
The one that makes you
Hunk
really
getting
tanky.
knocked out.
That one.
Kangaroos, Titans.
That's
Kangaroos
the one.
and Hunk getting knocked out here, both coming in 7th and 6th. And now it's down to the other players to fight for who makes it. Keep in mind, it is 8-1 points for these places in opposite order. So you try to get 1st or 2nd to really make sure you get out of the danger area here.
Yeah, there was a big gap though, right? Like, you know, yeah, the 3 that went out. There's a big gulf between them and Deb and the rest of them.
TXE hitting the Ocean 2 and the Terra 2 on 5-3. Sorry, what?
Damn, son. I mean, yeah, we saw the start of that, right? Like, that's what we were saying just as we left his board last time. It was like, oh, is that where he's headed? Yeah, it is. I mean, gosh, that's a lot of dragons to hit since then. But of course, as you can see, he's used all of his gold. You know, he's gone to 9 to give him that extra chance to hit the dragons, which of course has very much worked out in his favor. So look, sometimes you just throw your hands up in the air and pray to Mortdog and it works out.
Yeah, sometimes Mortdog just blesses you. And chat, if you'd like to be blessed as well, then you can write !egg in chat, and maybe Mortdog will bless you as well, and you will win one of our egg giveaways. But for now, we're gonna go into this carousel here, and I'm still not over TXE hitting just so casually all of those dragons. So I'm curious what he's going to pick up. Of course, it's going to be Zephyr, because why not? He doesn't need anything that gives him board strength. Just make sure nobody else is strong, and you're good. You have all of the dragons on your side, and you can just chill.
Yeah, a little bit sad no one else was playing Dragonmancer there, having the Dragonmancer spat on the carousel. How many games so far tonight makes have we seen where people have gone 6-7 Dragonmancer, and if they had have hit
Not
8,
enough.
It would have been a hell of a spike, right?
Yes! Oh my god. It's like the Shimmer scale, right? It's very hard to get because you need 2 of those extra kind of spats, augments whatsoever to really unlock the trade. But 8 Dragonmancer and 9 Shimmer Scale are just so fun. So I hope we can see some of that. There was a moment in time earlier where that could have been the case, but we did not get the Shimmer Scale. Now we're going to see Soul just show us how strong TXE's board really is. Keep your eyes on the enemy backline. There's an Aoshin. It's currently getting knocked out for a second, but it will cast, and in comes the lightning rain. And there's just nothing you can do. If you're Soul at this point, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, man. I'm surprised the Terra lived that long, to be honest. Terra 2 apparently really stacking up that
Chunky?
Emma. Even, yeah, very, very chunky. Even without the Dragon's Claw. Has definitely been to an all-you-can-eat K-barbecue at some point in the last week.
Look! Deb is very, very close to that Nomsy 3, and it is a mage Nomsy with 7 mages on this board. And even though that front line looks like a gust of wind could knock it over, there's 2 ZZ Rots, so we're not too worried as of right now. And we just need that Nomsy to come on through. That would be the biggest upgrade for Deb, but can he hit it? Once again, we're going to see TXE's board in action, and I'm not sure you can get out of this. This is such a strong board, and I'm not sure Deb has anything to face off against it. Aoshin ult coming in, Diamond Hands as well. Like, no, it's just TXE annihilating one player after another. We're down to top 4, and that's it for Deb. I would have loved to see that Mage Nomsy come through.
Yeah, Nomsy 3. I don't know what, like, I've played in Mage Nomsy twice, and I hit 3-star Mage Nomsy both times. So
Doesn't do anything?
No, it's fantastic. I got first both times.
Okay.
I was genuinely at one point questioning whether like 3-cost dragons had a different offering rate than other 3-cost units because of how improbable that seemed to me. But you know, I guess them's the swings and roundabouts of TFT, right? Sol, he gets a Death Blade. I feel like that's definitely a swinging a roundabout in the opposite direction for him, because that's going to do pretty much nothing for his composition right now. You can see with Deja stacked, nothing else is really doing damage, right? That's everything else is stall, everything else is healing. You know, I guess the Nunu, if you had that online, might do something. But yeah, what are you saying? Is this a transition to dragons here? This is a dragon
angle. Yeah, he's just rolling, trying to find a dragon. Unfortunately, it hits dragons that he doesn't necessarily need. There's another Shyvana in the shop, and it will hopefully be bought out. But for now, we're just slamming those dragons on the board. There's a Soraka 2 in play here, which for Soul is working a little bit like a metabolic accelerator, as it's doing quite some extra healing per round, and hopefully that can keep Soul alive, even though he's now meeting up with TXE. But this time, it's dragons on both sides. And there's a 2-star Terra just in the way of anything that's coming. But I don't think that Deja will be able to keep pace with that Aoshin too. So it will be a loss for Soul. Hopefully not too big.
Yeah, this is just nuts right now. I mean, nothing's getting through the Terra. You know, nothing is staying out of the way of the Aoshin. It's just kind of gross.
6 HP. I thought we would at least stay in the double digits. I was wrong. Soul needs to spend all of the money they have right now. Just dish it out, all of the money, anything you have. Away with the Nunus. We don't need them anymore. It's dragon time, baby, and you need to find them now. Like, that's your only chance if you want to survive. Only positive thing is Soul just met TXE, so he's not going to meet him another time for at least 1 or 2 rounds, and hopefully that will be enough to stay in here.
Okay, well, he's going to be up against the Soifen board. I don't think we've seen that much of it in this Game 5 here. It has managed to make it to the top 4, so Yush, you know, we were saying he's definitely got the chance of going through to tomorrow, but needs to chain a couple of good games together. Will this be one of them? The Deja in the backline is doing hella damage, but slowly they seem to be pushing through this front line. The Terra with the knock-up doesn't quite heal itself enough, and this is going to be a super close one. But Soul, it doesn't quite have enough to take out Yush, and he'll live to see another day. Top 3 now. It was a very close fight.
Is TXE really going for that Aoshin 3? Come on, dude. Leave some for the rest of the lobby. Like, this is Come on! Holy moly macaroni. He's just finding anything and everything at this point. All of the gold being spent. And I'm just looking at the other players because you need to put something against this, right? You need to find a board that can somehow compete with this.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. We've seen today that once you get those 2-star dragons at level 9, you know, it's just so hard. You're getting so many bonuses from the dragon trait at that point, extra team slots. Like, it's honestly kind of gross. And we got this 1-star Deja down the bottom trying to do its best. And honestly, it was doing okay, but for a Uniclus, that's going to be it for now. Exactly. It was only a little guy.
Deja was putting in the work. Like that was the best 1-star Deja I probably saw in a long time. But for now, it's going to be Yush and TXE. And we can feel Chaos just cheering, screaming from the green room, knowing that his pick is doing really well here in this 5th game of the day. And of course, TXE is going to find the Ao Shin 2 here and now. Just a second Ao Shin on the bench because you want to go for Ao Shin 3. Right.
Why not? At this point, I mean, yeah, I really don't see Soifen kind of pushing through this one at this point. If I'm being honest with you, this board is looking scary as hell. It feels like all 3 of those main dragons have got fantastic units on top of them. You know, I feel like you need like a god tier Thieves Gloves roll on that Siphon for there to be any chance here for Yush.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the damage coming out. Lightning Rain comes crashing thunder, and that is it for half of the board that Yush currently has equipped. Now, the Siphon could be the turning point here, as it is onto the backline. It will take a big chunk out of the Ao Shin, but it's not enough. The Ao Shin casts a second time, and that's just, you're getting served, Yush, the damage of an Ao Shin 2 with 3 items just completely blasting along.
And not just any 3 items, right? Like, it's 2 stacking items and Diamond Hands. So even if you do get that lucky Siphon charge, he's still not going to be able to kill the Ao Shin. He's still probably going to get an extra cast or 2 off because of how Diamond Hands works and just giving you that invulnerability, you know, not once but twice.
Yeah.
It's almost like, yeah, it's almost like a, what is it, the Brink of Dawn, right? Like the Radiant Edge of Night item. It gives you like 3 lives on, you know, the most ridiculous, like, high damaging dragon here. So, yeah, look, Yush, I think he might be done for here. It was a fantastically played game by TXE to push up, get to 9, get those dragons, and just hit.
Absolutely. I mean, Brink of Dawn, Brink of Death for Yush, that should be it. The Siphon cannot do anything here. CZ Rot's not going to help it. And game number 5 goes to TXE here in this lobby. And that's what I was speaking about, you know, that's what I wanted to